So this PowerPoint slide is kind of walking you guys through a little bit, assuming that you guys already all qualify for the NIH LRP. So take a look at the qualifications because they could only pay for education-based loans. So they can't pay for like any other loans that you probably took out through like a for-profit organization. So definitely check the qualifications. You guys are all junior faculty, so definitely still qualify. And none of you guys are working for Google. So sounds like for the most part, you guys all qualify, which is awesome. So I'll be operating off that assumption. And so what I really want to like kind of demystify for you guys is that a lot of people get the LRP. A lot of people get it. And the only reason that you won't get it is because you did not apply. So I really want to like encourage you all to apply, even if you have that little voice in your head that's saying you probably can't, it's too competitive, you probably don't have a chance. So I really want to, combat that little voice in your head and say, yes, 1 in 2 applications, almost 1 in 2 get the LRP. So your chances are really, really high. I mean, you could also say really high not getting it, but glass half full, so we're there. So the only way that you could get it is if you apply. So find an example of, so things that you could do right now is apply. Find an example of a recent and successful LRP, like see an example and seeing how the template looks like and see how people kind of like bold things and when they italicize certain things. It provides helpful guidance, where they add a figure, where they might be adding a table. It just really helps to see example to follow kind of that template. And start planning early. So your mentors are late on letters, and NIH does not accept late letters. So give them a lot of time, even lie about the deadline. I did that with my mentor. I know she's behind. So I told her like it's due like 2 to 3 weeks early before the deadline. So your mentors. Lie about the deadline if you have to, and ask folks who will speak highly of you. One of the common pitfalls that NIH did say is they had applications from people who, or they read lukewarm letters. So make sure that you have people who are gonna like say great things about you, and by starting early, you also provide room for error because you're human. You don't want to rush it. Because you're human, you're going to make mistakes if you try to rush it and plan last minute. And I think unfortunately this doesn't happen as much, but like try to see if you could develop like a co-review or co-writing team in MUI, in which you guys hold yourselves accountable to have drafts by a certain date, and you guys exchange it amongst each other. So that way it's a win-win. Everybody's getting feedback. The more eyes that you get it, the better. And so there's kind of these 5 overarching subcategories that they're willing to fund: clinical research, pediatric research, health disparities research, contraception and infertility research, clinical backgrounds, research in emerging areas, which was new to me. But when I applied for the health disparities research because that's where my research was guided or based on. But one way to really find out where your research will be a fit is if you go to the calls, if the notice of awards or notice of information awards. I'm screwing up the names, so if you kind of like click it, oops, hyperlink. Here we go. So this will give you information about the type of scholarship that they're looking for. So I know this looks long and it looks bland, so get a drink, read it carefully, just so that way you have an idea of whether you should submit it to like the health disparities of the emerging areas. So it's about finding the fit for it. And I think I had somewhere that you also want to make sure that when you apply, that you end up reaching out to a program officer that's specifically for NIH LRP, because it's not like you're submitting an RO3 or RO1 where you're aiming for program officers that are affiliated with a certain institute, but you're applying for NIH LRP. And so it's not like you're applying for Institute of Child, the NICHD. It's not like you're applying for NIMHD. You're applying for the NIH LRP. And so they have program officers specifically for that. And they probably are linked to the other institutes, but they're charged specifically for reviewing for NIH LRP awards. And so reach out to them, ask them questions about fit, because that's definitely kind of like another common mistake that people do is don't reach out to them. And so they end up finding something that's not fitting. And also because you're planning early, you also give them time to respond. There are times that, yes, they don't respond, but as soon as you send them an email, wait 5 business days. And if they haven't responded, put in your calendar to follow up. So just wait 5 business days. And if they don't follow up, email them again, email someone else. But they, again, human error, like they're tired, it's NIH, or, it's everyone's tired. So give them time to make error to skim that they probably didn't notice it by mistake. So just give them that grace and just follow up in 5 business days. So things to consider is that they're funding mentored and independent research. And because we are all junior faculty, one thing that I learned from Dorothy Castile is that you're not independent, although it might look like you're considered independent. You're not considered independent until you get that R01. But otherwise, if you're just reading kind of the criteria, like you have your own office, you have your own startup funding, you have your own this, it looks like you'll qualify for the independent. But really, according to Dorothy Castile, you can still apply for them. You would be a best match for the mentored one. And so that's kind of advice that I got from her. And when you talk about your training plan, talk about the specifics, like give them actual concrete information about what you have in your training plan, name of courses that you want to take, name of people, and what exactly you want to learn from them. So like if there's someone who has expertise on cortisol, say that you want to learn how to analyze cortisol data from this person, or even how to do daily diary analyses. So really name people and what you specifically want to learn from them. And I guess the first one I really want to highlight here is your reviewer is another faculty member, probably senior, and they don't want to be doing this. They have research that they'd rather do. They got into this career to do research. They don't want to be reviewing this. They got family. They're tired. They really don't want to be doing this. So the easier that you can make it for them to skim, like bolding stuff, don't bold everything, but italicizing things, don't italicize everything, don't underline everything. But the easier that you can make it for them to skim, the better. These are people who just don't want to be doing this. So the easier that you can make it for them to skim, the better. And make this an opportunity to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. There's a lot of people who end up submitting it to NIH LRP and then applying for a KO1. So, because it's not a grant, they're funding you to do research and they're paying off your loans. So it's not a grant. And so you could always take that information and revise it so that way it could fit with a KO1, K99 if you guys are postdocs, or even like a diversity supplement, or even just like a foundation grant. So use this as an opportunity to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Yeah, so you can just totally revise that in line with that. Let's see if there's anything else I want to highlight here. Conferences, manuscripts. It does help to have like a table of when you plan to have a manuscript done, like in terms of introduction done, draft of the introduction, discussion, methods and results. When you plan to submit, also put in time to resubmit, regardless if it's a rejection or revise and resubmit. I think that's kind of what I have overall, but I could also walk you guys through this form right here that I downloaded from an NIH LRP, dated September 1, 2023. So this is another document that's like long, but it does like, again, have a drink to make it more fun to have. So there's a lot of like colleague information that you need to get. So your mentored research, if you're applying as a mentor, you should ask for your mentor's ERA Commons name, references. So you should also give your references kind of like your NIH LRP code, and give them information on how to submit it. There's also information here about you have to reach out to so your research supervisor, their NIH Commons ID, but there's like an IBO. This person's kind of hard to find sometimes. So reaching out to whoever's kind of like the associate dean of research to ask them who's the IBO of my school for the NIH LRP, because you will have to enter their NIH Commons ID, your employment affiliation. Of course, you guys know yourselves, your education and training. You guys also know your training, where you did your postdoc.